Have you ever had arguments or like you're having a conversation with someone and you're telling them something and they say something to you back which is completely unrelated, but it's about their situation?
Yeah, definitely.
And you know what they're doing in that moment is projecting their situation onto your story. If you do start your day with gratitude, it creates an abundant mindset.
Because I kind of went through that period just before I went to Australia. I was thinking to myself, I was getting to a dangerous place where I was like, I'm fat, I'm this, I've got too much weight on me, I'm not myself. And I was getting into a dark place in my mind. And I thought to myself, bro, how many times are you gonna call yourself this thing before you do something about it?
People who are more curious about self-development and self-fulfillment are the ones who are the most happiest, because they're trying to figure out a way to make things work.
If you're presently trying to tackle the issues that you're going through and you're not burying your head in the sand, overcoming that experience, overcoming that feeling has far outweighed the negative feelings that I've ever felt. Hey everyone, welcome back to Teddy Talks. Teddy Soares here. I'm joined by my brother, Sidney Soares. Very excited today. It is Easter, so happy Easter, everyone. Hope you're having the best time with your families and all your loved ones. Today, we are very, very excited to be talking about, actually touching on a previous episode, episode 10, The Only Way Out is Through. Very prevalent episode for you guys. You guys were, you were messaging us some interesting comments, some interesting quotes. So we've actually got a quote from one of you out there, which we're excited to share. But the overall synopsis of today, Sidney, do you want to take us through what we're going to talk about today?
You know, March has been a bit of a whirlwind. Quite a few things have happened to you and I. But actually, let's look back at the past 3 months. You know, it's the end of a quarter and we're looking at the quarter ahead. How can we stay motivated? How can we stay disciplined? How can we stay true to ourselves when there are a lot of distractions that are getting us to look in so many different directions? So the theme today is, how do we stay on the bike and stay focused when there's so many distractions in front of us?
And tackling challenges as well.
Absolutely.
Hitting those challenges that we're facing head on. We're more or less into a new quarter now. April is literally fast approaching. And
it's your birthday coming up soon, right?
Yeah, I keep forgetting about that. April 7th. For those of you who really want to know when my birthday is, because I'm not going to assume you all know when my birthday is.
Yeah, he's plugging it. He wants the birthday cards. He wants the presents.
But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited for the new quarter ahead. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to kickstart off with the quote, a lovely quote that we got sent in from Winston Churchill. Not directly Winston Churchill himself, of course. For those of you that are like,
straight from the grave.
What are you talking about? No way. But it is Winston Churchill himself that said it. When you're going through hell, keep going. So very powerful quote. It really resonated with us and really reconnected with the episode that we did on episode 10, The Only Way Out is Through. So how did that resonate with you, Sid? When you heard that quote, when we read that, and we were like, firstly, we were very excited that someone finally sent us in a quote, weren't we?
It's great to see that there's people out there watching, listening, and connecting with some of the things that we talk about and some of the quotes that we share. But you know, why I really like this one, it's quite similar to The Only Way Out is Through, but I think that, you know, whilst we're looking at the year ahead, it's quite hard to think about the finish line. Am I going to get there? Is it even possible? Am I good enough? You know, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you get reminded of your own beliefs and some of your own negative self-talks. And sometimes you need to figure out a way to interrupt those patterns Why didn't I get up as early as I wanted to today? Why is it that I said I was going to do this thing, but I ended up doing that instead when I know this is more important to me? What is the real reason for me checking out? Is it because I'm fearful of trying? Is it because I'm worried about what other people think? Am I scared of failing? What are those around me going to say when I'm failing? That's not part of my brand. My brand is being successful. So when you are embarking on this journey and you are trying something new, and you're only 3 months in, you're still a beginner, it's very easy to give up. And I think it's a great time for us to bring everyone into this conversation and understand, okay, what does it take to stay on the horse? And because we fall off, how do you get back on it and stay on it?
What I really love about what you're saying and what's resonating is the conversation around embracing whatever challenge is in front of you, whatever it is that's stopping you from making that next step into what you're really trying to achieve. And if you don't embrace that, you don't embrace the experience of feeling, oh, wow, this is really tough. Like right now, I'm either really broke right now, or I'm not truthfully hitting that January goal that I set for myself of maybe hitting the gym 3 times a week, once a week, twice a week, whatever goal it is that you're setting. That challenge that you're not hitting is really, really affecting you, but you haven't really looked at yourself in the mirror. And that for me, I remember when we were looking into this topic, I think the Mental Health Foundation in the UK reported that those individuals that actively engage with challenges and develop coping strategies tend to experience better mental health outcomes, which I found really interesting.
That's really interesting, because I also saw some research which spoke to the fact that people who are more curious about self-development and self-fulfillment are the ones who are the most happiest, because they're trying to figure out a way to make things work. So it's very interesting that you mentioned that the World Health Organization has looked into that too. Why do you think that is?
I think because you now have the tools in your locker to actually deal with something if that thing comes up again. If whatever it is that is really stopping you from wanting to wake up in the morning, or wanting to go into work, wanting to face the hardships of whatever it is that you're going through. When you overcome that and you feel the feelings of gratitude, and you feel the rewards, you feel all of the gains out of accomplishing whatever it is, it's now when you're embedded in you. It's now in your nervous system. I came across something which was talking about not trying to live in the past, not trying to live in the future, and living in the present. And for me, I kind of feel as though if you're presently trying to tackle the issues that you're going through and you're not burying your head in the sand, it's almost like that knee-jerk reaction. There's anytime that thing comes up again, you're always going to remember, oh wait, I've been through this. I've been through something similar. I've been through something that was tough. And when I faced it, I felt like this. In those moments when you've ignored it, you know the kind of anxiety that you would have been feeling. I've been there myself. When I know that I've ignored something, as soon as I start thinking about it, I'm sweating. My palms are feeling comfortable. I don't really want to go and enter that environment. I don't feel myself. But overcoming that experience, overcoming that feeling has far outweighed the negative feelings that I've ever felt. And I feel like that's what I've been trying to really connect with this quarter as well, and overcoming those negs and just being way more positive and believing in yourself.
Yeah, but I love that. You know, you're exuding resilience, and that's something that I really connect with. You sparked. You got my cogs turning when you were just talking just then, and you sparked a thought. It got me thinking about the Chimp Paradox. Have you ever heard of it before?
The what paradox?
The Chimp Paradox.
The Chimp Paradox.
Yeah.
Like chimpanzee.
Yeah, like chimpanzees. Yeah.
No. What's the chimp? What's the
like chimpanzee. So there's this guy, I think it's called Steve Peters. Professor Steve Peters came up with this concept called the Chimp Paradox. And he, in short, you have a chimp center in your brain, call it a jungle center, that responds to things emotionally, and you have a human center, one that responds to things logically. And the chimp paradox is that your chimp, your jungle center can take over your personality. And there's moments where you have fight or flight, or you freeze. That's the natural instinctive response you get to in certain situations. And what you were talking about earlier, when you're like, I know when something needs to be done, there's a little bit of anxiety that builds up. That apparently, from a scientific perspective, anxiety, the reason for anxiety being there is so that it's signaling to your brain that it's trying to compel you that something needs to be done. And the more anxiety builds up, the more your body feels like you need to be doing something. So the way in which you can deal with that, according to Steve, is that you could reassure your chimp. And that
reassure my chimp
how
more
do
often.
you need to reassure your chimp more often. That's right.
Yeah, definitely.
So for example, if you were in a position where you had to speak in front of 1,000 people, and your chimp starts moving mad, and you're sweating, and you feel like you're stuttering before you can even say anything. There's no way you're going to get a word out. You can start saying to your chimp, just dumb down the situation. Like, come on, this is stupid. I'm just going out to speak to a couple of friends outside. Like, it's normal.
With that chimp in its place.
So put your chimp back in place. So.
I love that. And actually, do you know what? So one of the, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you will remember, I don't know why I'm saying, I don't know if you remember. We had a comment from Sarah, based in lovely America, who messaged us actually about her social anxieties. And Sarah was telling us, so she battled social anxiety for years. Instead of avoiding social situations, she decided to confront her fears by gradually exposing herself to them. Through perseverance and self-belief, Sarah conquered her anxieties and now thrives in social settings. So maybe Sarah had a conversation with her chimp.
Yeah, Sarah had a conversation with her chimp. She told her chimp to sit down.
Yeah.
Good on her, Sarah.
That's an interesting study. And I think it really hits home, because I know there's so many, especially when I came into the public eye, there's situations where I felt as though I couldn't go on this red carpet. And, I had to have those conversations with myself, that there's a reason why I'm here. There's a reason why I'm in this situation right now. And at the time, I didn't think of it as a chimp, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But it was that conversation with yourself to tell yourself, believe in yourself and believe in your purpose and believe in why your present right now has put you in this situation. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about what you were doing in the desk job. Don't worry about what the outcome of tomorrow is going to be. Really live in this moment right now, because you don't know whether or not this is going to happen ever again in your lifetime. So there's so many extra added benefits, which, like Sarah now, she's probably experiencing so many social settings now, meeting so many new people, putting herself in situations that previously, for whatever reason, whatever the reason was why she had those anxieties build up, she's now connecting more, which is so valuable now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And just picking up on something you and Sarah shared there is that, she mentioned perseverance as one of the things that got her through hell, if we're linking it back to Winston's quote. And she mentioned belief, and you just touched on that again. And I think it really is important to have some sort of unshakable belief that can be like your North Star in that moment when you are feeling like you're not in a mood to do something.
How though? How do you do that? Without deviating from who you are as Sidney Soares.
As in keeping authentic.
Keeping authentic.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. There's a number of ways you can look at it. You need to understand what motivates you or me, Sidney. What motivates Sidney? Is it the stick or is it the carrot? Is it the pain of losing something, or is it the buzz of winning something that's going to motivate me? That's a couple of motivating factors. You can also look at, that's extrinsic, external things, but internally, what motivates me internally? Like, what's really important to me that connects me to this task that I've set for myself?
Yeah, because I would say arguably, sorry, not to cut you off, but I would say arguably the external factors don't last.
No, they don't.
So like an award or, don't get me wrong, we had Perry sat here, and no disrespect to, of course, gold medals and stuff, but, it's within, right? Like I can't imagine that the gold medal is exactly what makes that feeling the best feeling in the world. I think it would be everything in between internally. How you've made the family feel, how you've made, those things that really matter to you within, right?
Yeah, I agree. And, you got me thinking about instinctively as humans, again, if we're thinking about being a chimp, as we are animals, instinctively we've got some drives in us that make us want to do certain things, and sometimes for bad reasons. For example, some of us are driven by sex, or some of us are driven by ego, or by money, or by building a cult. Or being territorial. That again, these are instinctive things to us. Wanting to be the alpha in a situation, and it's understanding what's your personality versus what's your chimp, and that's going to be determined by what do you value and what your beliefs are. And again, you need to be really careful about what's your beliefs versus the beliefs that someone has installed inside you. Is it something that you've seen on social media or on the news, or has it been installed by one of your friends or your parents or one of your family members who told you that you can't ever try that because it's not possible? So you've always repeated that to yourself. So now you believe that you're not good enough to do that thing because someone who you believed was an authority figure in your life maybe once said that to you when you was young, and you don't even remember that it was installed then. But when you think about deeply, where does this voice come from when I think about that belief or thing? Is it my voice or is it someone else's voice? When you think deeply, more often than not, it's not your voice. And I've been through coaching sessions with people who've had beliefs such as, I'm not good enough, this is not possible. And it's so interesting to find out that, when you get to the bottom of the barrel, the bottom of the problem, you really find out that, some of these things that they're running with, the baggage that they've had on their shoulders is not their baggage.
It actually reminds me of one of the conversations that we either had on here or we had privately about, the nuances of NLP and a technique that you mentioned to me, which was reframing. And everything you were just saying really, in my mind, circled back to the things that people build up in their mind. So I'm thinking of those people that they have this challenge that they want to overcome. They have this thing that has just come to them potentially on a whim that, they didn't foresee at all. And now they need to overcome it. You can imagine the thoughts. Let's say, I've had a letter through the post and my MOT is due, and I need to now I need to pay for my MOT as well as all my other bills, because right now, as we know, the cost of living has gone up. But actually, if I don't pay this MOT right now, all the other things go to pot. I can't get to work. I can't do this. I can't do that. And it's the framing of that situation in your mind. Do you frame it as, oh, I haven't got the money right now, so that means that I'm just gonna, just bend over backwards and just not do anything about it, and just sit at home and not work, not try and be active, and not try and impose myself to try and actually get myself out of the situation? Or do I start thinking of solutions? Do I start thinking, my MOT is due. I might not have the money right now. However, what else can I do? Can I potentially cycle to work? Can I take public transport? Can I do something different? And it's that journey, because I remember when I was younger and there was things that weren't happening in my favor, and it used to really wind me up. I used to think to myself, this is long. I don't want to catch public transport when I can drive, but I can't quite afford to pay for petrol right now, and but my work is in London. What am I going to do right now?
Yeah.
Bro, all it is that you just don't like public transport. It's not that deep. So frame it differently in your mind. Like, don't unnecessarily make something out to be so terrible that you then are in a situation that you feel so negative. You feel so... You almost feel like the world is on your shoulders, when actually there's other solutions right in front of you. One of the things that I remember seeing one time, I don't remember if it was Instagram, TikTok, I don't know what platform it was, but there was this guy that was, he had his car stolen, and very, very chilled out guy. It was almost like he was the most chilled out person in the world. So he had his car stolen right in front of him and he was on his way to work. He looks at the guy that's driving off and he sees a bus coming and he literally just jumps on the bus and goes to work. But this is all cartoon, so it's not realistic. Right. It's not like real life. It's not, it's all cartoon. Right. It's not. But that to me was like, what's more important to him? The fact that he needs to get money in his pocket, to potentially pay for this car, pay for his life, pay for everything for him to just move forward and be happy, or be so annoyed the world has gone to pot, I can't get to work, I can't do this, I can't do that. He literally saw the bus at the same time his car's driving off, and he just gets on the bus and goes to work.
Wow. That's crazy.
Right?
Not realistic, but
not
that's
realistic.
crazy. Yeah, but I understand the message there. To have that ability to just, you need to keep it moving, because the past is the past now.
Exactly.
Let's deal with the present. We got problems to solve.
Because at the end of the day, what could happen? He's on the bus, call the police whilst he's on the bus, whilst he's on the way to work. You know, his mind quickly is just switched on to the fact that, oh shit, I still need to go to work despite the fact that my car's been stolen.
In real life, I'll be running after that car.
Yeah. You chased that guy.
Oh my days, that's so funny.
I mean, I don't advocate for everyone to obviously start stealing cars and whatnot, but like it was the moment when I saw that video just reminded me that people react to things very differently. People frame things in their minds very, very differently, which actually has a knock-on effect to how you react in reality.
Yes.
If you think, this thing is the worst thing in the world, it will be the worst thing in the world for you. If you think, there's a silver lining here, how can I make this situation work in my favor? Where is the win here? How can I navigate this to actually see myself to the other side of this situation?
One of my favorite principles that I came across in NLP, in neuro-linguistic programming. Such a long word.
But you didn't create it.
I didn't create it. I wasn't the creator, so don't shoot me. Don't shoot the messenger. Was that the map is not the territory. And the reason why I love that one, right, is because you think about it. Everyone has got different maps. They draw their own map to navigate the world. And they draw the map from their own perspective, from their own set of experiences. So my map is going to be slightly different from your map, even though we're looking at the same territory. And we need to appreciate that when we're looking at the territory, we're perceiving things in different ways. And we do that because we've got filters. We like to generalize information. We like to distort information. We like to delete information. And sometimes we do this to serve our own agendas. Like sometimes do you have moments where, let's say you're arguing with someone and you can swear you saw them do this thing, but their recollection of the event is completely different. So when they're in their mind, the way they've stored that memory, they've distorted the way that actually happened.
That sounds like a drunken conversation.
That's exactly that. Or another example of that is selective memory. You know, people like to pick and choose the parts that are most important to them, because, you know, if they remembered the parts that didn't really make them look good, then, you know, they would have some hard truths to face. And nobody likes facing hard truths, right? And sorry, just circling back to my point that the map is not the territory. So if you can appreciate that we've got these different filters when we're perceiving information, if we're navigating the world with different maps, then sometimes you have to really, really, really come to grips with the fact that your map is not the correct map. You need to be open-minded and flexible enough to say, okay, look, the reason why I'm failing in this relationship, or I'm failing at this job, or I'm failing at being able to pay my bills is because I'm not being empathetic enough with my girlfriend, or I don't have the right skill set to fulfill this aspect of this task, or I can't remember the third example that I just gave. But, you know, my point here being is that you need to be able to be introspective enough and accountable enough to say, look, I don't have it right. What's another way of approaching this? And if I can reframe this situation, so let's use a different frame of looking at this picture. Maybe I need to zoom out a little bit to see more of the situation, or maybe I need to look at this situation from a different angle to see more. Change my position, get out of my shoes, get into Teddy's shoes, or get into the shoes of the fly on the wall. What are they seeing? And then I can understand whether my map is correct. And
There's
maybe I need to draw a new map.
self-awareness.
There's a lot of self-awareness.
There's a lot of self-awareness within that. It's definitely not easy, everything that you're saying, because I'm just thinking of the people out there that are in so many situations that I've been there where you're just looking at a situation and of course you would like it one way, but then you suddenly start thinking to yourself, actually, I'm 99% sure, even though I don't like it that way, I did that thing that way not too long ago. So as much as that frustrates me, it's having that self-awareness to be able to pick up on all those things.
And I think another aspect of this is being able to control your emotions, your state of being. If we're thinking about, okay, the very start of this episode, you introduced Winston Churchill's quote, which was, when you're going through hell, keep on going. And there's going to be times this year where that New Year resolution that you've set for yourself, you're like, I can't be asked. I'm going to give up now. And that's a mood. It's not how you actually think about this thing. It's just that in the moment, you're like, I'm done with this. And I want to introduce this metaphor, right, that I heard recently, which I really love. One of my mentors, Ken Wade, he said that, imagine two football managers, and two football managers delivering a halftime talk to a team that's losing 2-0 down. The first football manager says to the team, guys, what the hell is going on? We cannot lose this game. We cannot lose this game. You hear me? All right, cool. Go out and do what you need to do. What does the team do? They go out and lose the game. The second manager goes in and do the team talk. Guys, we're going to win this game. We need to win this game. Go out there and do what you need to do. We need to win this game. What does the team go out and do? They go out and win the game. The difference between the two scenarios wasn't the event itself. It was the framing of the event. And the frame that the first football manager presented was focusing the team on the negatives, which was to lose the game.
Yes.
Whereas the frame that the second football manager presented was a positive, which was to win the game. So the only thing they thought about was winning the game. And if you think about this from a psychology level, right? If I say to you, Teddy, don't think of a pink elephant.
I want to think about that pink elephant.
You're going to think about that pink elephant.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to think about that pink elephant.
You're going to think about that pink elephant. And it's weird, right? Because I came across this thing that says that, I don't know, I like to come across things.
You come across a lot of things.
I like to come across things. I think it was in NLP or psychology, whatever it was, is that the subconscious mind doesn't process negatives.
The subconscious mind doesn't process negatives.
Negatives, yeah.
Interesting.
So, because I said to you, Teddy, don't think of a pink elephant, your brain didn't process don't. It just was processing the pink elephant.
Yeah.
So when you tell someone, or you say to yourself, I need to stop smoking, you're going to do the thing that you said that you're going to stop doing. because all you're thinking about is smoking.
Yeah.
Where how you could have reframed that was, I need to live a healthy life.
Yes.
And what does living a healthy life look like?
You know you shouldn't be smoking. You know you shouldn't be doing certain things. Of course. And I love that. I love that more so because there's so many situations. It's like the don't touch the red button. Like you're gonna touch that red button. You will be itching to touch the red button. Like it's one of those age-old things. And I really honestly believe that the reframing is such a prevalent thing for people that are going through challenges in today, through the period of feeling lonely, through the period of having a tough time at work, in relationships, because too often we kind of think of situations where you don't feel like you can get out of it.
No.
You always feel like you're one of those people that have been backed into a corner on why. Why do we feel as though that there is no escape from something that maybe it might not be in your control. Maybe it's something that, you know, you have no bearing on the outcome. But I'm a firm believer that in certain situations, you are still able to hold your own. You're still able to control the things that you yourself within will be happy with, because you know you handle this situation in that specific way because, as we said, you were self-aware. You understood that this is something in front of me that's tough. This is something in front of me that's a challenge. And regardless of whether or not I fail, regardless of whether or not I'm scared, regardless of whether or not I'm in a situation that I've never, ever been in before, I'm willing to see what happens. And I'm willing to see and learn from what's going to happen. Because I remember when we were younger and you all used to go out all the time. You all used to go on long bike rides, go on adventures. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a bike. I definitely had a bike. But I wouldn't go sometimes with you guys. When we grew up into young adulthood, it was the same similar thing. There'd be events that you guys would go to. There'd be things that you guys would go to. There'd be social events, let's call them, that you guys would go to. And be like, no, you guys go together. You guys will go. And over time, I started to wonder, why do I have this feeling of saying no? And again, I'd be lying if it was to say, because I'm working on myself and blah, blah, blah. 18, 19, I don't even know what working on myself is. So it was more of a fear. It was more of I was worried about going into situations and thinking, this person might not like me, or what if I'm not liked? Or, you know, I was going into situations with the fear of just not knowing what was going to happen. Like the unknown is the best way to describe it. And then I started to really reframe that situation. And the catalyst for that was because I was missing out on so many memories. You guys were coming back and you're telling me, this was great and that was great. And, you know, we met this person and that person. And I was beginning to see the knock-on effect of my own downfall, my own fears. And I was starting to understand that the only person that's truly suffering is me. There's nobody else. You guys are still having a good time. Everyone else is still having a good time, and also building memories, and you're connecting. So over time, I started to say, do you know what? And also, to be honest, a lot of it was also the communication with you guys to say, the reason why I didn't want to go to that event is because I'll be honest, there was a girl called Catherine, and I was like, person said this about me. And I don't want to bump into this person. Yeah. There's a fear.
Yeah.
It's like there's the thing in the back of my mind of thinking that the whole thing will come up again, and it's like, so what?
Yeah.
Just go and have fun with your friends. It goes back to what you were saying earlier on. What is your purpose? Is my purpose to prove something to this person, or is my purpose to have fun with the group of friends that I'm going there with? Is my purpose to create memories? Because every time you guys were coming back and telling me certain stories, I'm thinking I'm missing out. I'm missing out on this fun. I'm missing out on connecting with you guys and building childhood memories with you guys, or young adulthood memories with you guys. So that, for me, then grew into being more confident in myself, being more of a believer in myself, because I understood what my purpose is. It literally just somehow managed to piece itself back into, well, actually, I remember that I just want to have a good time with my friends.
Yes, exactly.
That's it.
I love that. And I think, remembering your purpose is one of the keys to unlocking that movement forward. And I think another key is, why don't you just paint a picture of this worst case scenario that you're thinking about?
Is it that deep?
Is it that deep? Okay, let's talk about it. Whether it's Catherine or Kelly or Rochelle or whoever it is that's
One
gonna
day
be
Angelina Jolie, hopefully.
one day Angelina Jolie. Yeah, we watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith yesterday.
Yeah, just to give a little bit of context. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and it just brought back so many memories.
Yeah, it did. Great movie. Whoever it is that you think is going to be at this event and they say this thing to you, okay, they say it. What happens next? Do you think you're going to die? Do you think that you're gonna start break down and crying because she said it? Do you think your friends are gonna laugh at you?
What did Uncle Manuel say? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Exactly. He loves that.
Loves it. And it's so true. Because at the end of the day, you're still alive. You're still there looking at your friends who have had a good time and have had a fantastic time. There's still other things going on tomorrow. There's still, it's kind of contradictory to what I said earlier on about thinking about tomorrow. But if you're thinking about the present and you're thinking about, what am I going to get out of going to this thing or doing this thing for yourself? Not for anyone else, for yourself. And again, going back to that purpose, what do you believe in? What is it that you're trying to achieve out of, this thing that's so tough, the thing that you're trying to overcome? Is it even worth trying to overcome it? Is it even worth your time to try and actually figure out the impacts of whatever it is in your life that is challenging you? Because sometimes the other thing I would say as well is just to let it go. Let it go. Move on. Move forward. Keep going. Keep building those blocks. Because at the end of the day, like I said, the only person that suffers is nobody else around you but yourself. Yes, your mum, your family might look at you and think, oh, my son, my daughter isn't quite the same and whatnot. But they have their own lives. So the only real person that suffers from these challenges is you. But I think everything that we've just touched on was the therapeutic benefits of overcoming those challenges. The therapeutic benefits of actually trying to really tackle the things that are really prevalent in your life, but yet you haven't quite hit them head on.
Yes, I agree. And I think the other way of looking at it, right, is, we've talked about the quote, if you're going through hell, keep on going. And, we're relating to it from the perspective of going through adversity. But let's look at another take, which is, okay, there's this shiny gold trophy at the end of the rainbow that I want. And I want it so badly. And this thing is that future version of me. It doesn't even have to be something materialistic, or doesn't even have to be an achievement. This is just this version of me that I've created for myself. In order to get there, right, in order to close that gap, there needs to be some sort of sacrifice. And you have to accept that you need to sacrifice something. And, you know, it's funny because LeBron James was talking about, I saw this clip doing the rounds recently, that what it takes to be disciplined is that you need to be ready to sacrifice your loved ones. You know, I thought that was a bit extreme. You know, thinking about
sacrifice me,
putting your loved ones on an altar and burning them and say, God, take
so would you sacrifice
take
me?
Teddy today because God forbid.
What, you would do it?
No, of course I'd never do that. Never
So
do
why
that.
you do the sign of the cross? Usually that would mean
I'm doing
that's
it because God forbid that you're not. I don't want you to die. I'm saying,
thank God.
Give you unlimited life.
The LeBron James story.
What I was relating to there is delaying gratification. There is something there because there was some
delaying. Let me just say. So you said delaying gratification. Okay.
So delaying gratification is the whole concept of not rewarding yourself for a long period of time. Delay that cookie that you want when you know that you're on a strict regime to get yourself in a place that you really want to be, because you know that it helps with your heart condition that you might be struggling with, or it's that killer, 10K miles that you want to hit. That cookie's not going to get me there, X, Y, and Z. So the only time I'm going to dip my hand into the cookie jar is in 6 months' time when I've hit the 10K or whatever it is. But there was some research done into kids, right? I think it was less than 10 years old. I can't remember. And the scientists gave them some marshmallows. There's 2 groups of kids. They gave them some marshmallows, and they said to the kids, "Don't touch the marshmallows, and I'll give you another marshmallow." Obviously, there were some kids that were like, I'm swiping all the marshmallows, so they're gone. So they leave the room and they swipe all the marshmallows.
That's for me. Like, yeah, bro.
Yeah,
when you look over there, that marshmallow is mine.
Yeah, so that marshmallow is mine. You must be crazy. But there were some kids that they're like, oh, they could conceptualize another marshmallow, and I'm going to have 2 marshmallows. I'm like, okay, I'll wait. When they studied these kids over time, they found that the ones who were most successful in life, whatever success means, were the ones who delayed gratifications, the one who waited for the second marshmallow. I found very interesting. That ability to not reward yourself and delay that for as long as possible could be a big determining factor as to whether you're going to achieve your goal. So, whether it is, this new project that you want to embark on this year, you might have to sacrifice some social nights, your friends that you usually agree to. You might have to don't sacrifice your loved ones. I'm not an advocate for that. I'm not an advocate.
LeBron might have something to say about that.
Yeah, LeBron would have something to say. I was about to say something wild, but
you're just thinking, what if LeBron sees this one day and I come across it?
Yes and no.
No, but I do you know what? I do think the delayed gratification is it's something that turns out to be worth it in the end. You always, it's a weird one. You always get to the end of the tunnel and you look back and you're like, oh wow, it was all worth it. What about for those people that don't necessarily have the capacity to want to do the delayed gratification thing, and they want to just to just enjoy the fruits of their labor now.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I think we're now living in an age where things do happen very, very quickly, especially when you look at, oh God, for the life, Kai, that's his name. Kai, when you look at someone like Kai, you know, streamer, young, so much life still ahead of him, but yet he has had a lot of things, I wouldn't say come to him quite quickly, but the pace at which it's come is quicker than a business potentially that's been grinding for like, I don't know enough about his story, but I'm just going to use an example of like 5-10 years. A business has been grinding for a long, long time. For example, like Reese Rabara's business, Manny Devoir. You know, that's been a long period of him putting in a lot of work. Not to say that Kai hasn't put in a lot of work. I don't know what he does in the background, but he's still young, right? You would argue that he's still working, he's still putting in the work, he's still doing what he's doing, but he's still enjoying those small wins as the journey is going along. So what about for those people that are doing that? They're still enjoying the wins on a day-to-day basis. I would say it's kind of it's dependent on your situation.
Right? I think there's a few ways we could approach this one. First of all, I respect people like Kai and the speed of the worlds that, in our eyes, it looks like they've come to the forefront very quickly.
But the reality is there's a lot of work that's gone.
There's a lot of work that's gone into it, and one day people will discover Teddy Talks for the first time, and they will think, "Oh, it's an overnight success." But you know, if they looked into how much work that we put into the previous episodes, they'd understand that actually Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly,
and that's the sort of mindset that you need to take on when you're building your own baby and growing it into something that is going to be beautiful. It's like you need to understand that you're going to be a beginner at the beginning. You can't be an expert.
It's perceptions.
It's perceptions.
It's perceptions. It's not only Kai and only these people, you know, like KSI can tell you how long their grind has been.
And the other way of looking at it is that, okay, that person who doesn't have the motivation to keep going, put your chimp in place.
We're back to the chimp. I was missing the chimp.
Yeah, you're missing the chimp. I was missing the chimp as well, and I was thinking about it because you're being run by an emotional program. You know, the fact that you're not in the mood to do it today, it's your emotions.
What is that? Yeah,
that's your emotions.
Yeah.
It's not you that doesn't want to do it because you've already committed to this. It's you're not in the mood to do it today.
Do you know what that reminds me of? It's going to show my age. But back in the day when we used to have viruses on computers, it's kind of like a virus. That one day you wake up and you have that niggling feeling that's come out of nowhere. You're usually positive. You're usually bright. You usually want to get up every day and glow. But for some reason, that one day you wake up and you're like, you just feel not quite with it on that day. Might be wrong,
yeah.
But I mean, I think
I like that. I like that. It's a concept I've come across before. It's like having a thought virus.
Yes,
something that festers in your mind, and then it just like it grows.
It can impact. Think about how long a day is. 24 hours.
But then you need to figure out how. I know. So it goes back to what you were saying in terms of being self-aware. If you know that every single Wednesday or every single Thursday, it's going to be hard for you to do the thing that you've committed to do, plan ahead to say, this is the thing that I use to lift my energy up on that day. So I know that, for example, I relate to this a lot because we both go to the gym, right? But if I say every Thursday, I know that I tend to miss out on going to the gym because we're getting close to the end of the week. I'm like,
aches and pains.
And actually I'm like, you know what? I'd rather go out, have a drink, relax. It's time to socialize. We're close to Saturday. Let's get into the mood now. Instead of doing that, why don't I have some sort of cue that reminds me of why I'm going to the gym? So every Thursday, there's this picture that pops up on my phone of, you know, a time where I was on holiday and my rig was looking mad.
What year was that?
Don't worry about that.
I play it.
But you see what I'm getting at here is like you need to put some guardrails in place for yourself.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know that I make missteps in this moment. Let's plan ahead and say, this is what I'm going to do when I know I react that way, because it's a pattern. So I got to protect myself from myself.
Yes. Again, like I said earlier on, the only person you're damaging is you. You have to recognize that it's a mirror thing almost. You have to really look in the mirror, and sometimes a lot of the things that we tell ourselves is affected by the external things, by, you know, that one person that hasn't given me a phone call today, or a bad day at work, or, you know, if you're an advocate for a healthy living, that the day in the gym didn't quite feel as good as I would have liked it to. All these things that we tell ourselves in our heads, as if tomorrow isn't promised. If we look at that, tomorrow's not promised, and look at the way that we speak to ourselves within that present day, I feel like we would really, really flip the coin on its head.
And I love what you're touching on here. Like when you speak to yourself, right? When you're making positive affirmations to yourself, you know, when you're installing positive narratives and saying, you know, my identity today is I'm the best at this. You know, I am the king of this thing, or I am the queen of this thing. If you embody that identity, right, how's anyone going to get in your way? And when I say anyone, it's you. How are you going to get in your own way? When you remind yourself every day, when you have something written in front of you that you come across every day, when it's on your fridge, or when it's on something that you always walk past every day, and it's a reminder that that's me. Oh yeah, that's me. You know, it's so funny the other day, right? Yeah, I was getting ready for a call, and I was getting a TikTok post ready, and I wasn't, just before a call, and I wasn't ready for the camera
that
to.
Your boss might not be happy.
Yeah. Look, I wasn't ready for the camera to flip, and the camera just showed me a picture.
Oh, on the iPhone.
On the iPhone, yeah. So I prepped the post, and then the camera flipped, and then it was me, and I was just like, "Yo, handsome guy, what you saying?"
Wait, did you actually say that to yourself?
Yeah, you have to say good things to yourself.
Yeah, no, but bro, I'm not saying don't do that. You do that. Say that you're a handsome guy.
No, but I'm just giving an example of you should say good things to yourself.
I agree,
because if
we say way too many bad things to ourselves.
No, I spend a lot of time with myself. So if I'm saying to myself when I'm looking in the mirror, "Yo, what's up, ugly guy?" You know, over a period of time, you might start feeling ugly.
I really don't like the way that sounded. No, bro, because it's such a bad thing to say.
Yeah, I know, but
and I also think that as much as, again, if we go back to what we were saying before, when you flip the coin on its head, if you say as many bad things to yourself as you say good, think about what that world will look like. Slowly but surely, if you start saying, the most positive things about yourself, as opposed to the negative things. Because I kind of went through that period just before I went to Australia. I was thinking to myself, I was getting to a dangerous place where I was like, I'm fat. I'm this. I've got too much weight on me. I'm not myself. And I was getting into a dark place in my mind. And I thought to myself, bro, how many times are you going to call yourself this thing before you do something about it? Before you actually start, making necessary steps, positive steps. Because there's only so many times you can look yourself in the mirror and be like, you're this person, you're that person, and really put yourself down. There's only so many times you can do that before it then starts to fester into a really toxic thought process about yourself. So if you're thinking about yourself in this negative way, you're thinking about yourself in such a negative light, how are you going to perceive the world? How are you going to perceive your manager? How are you going to perceive your family? How are you going to perceive your friends, the ones that mean something to you? If you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, "Ooh, bro, you're glowing today. You're actually glowing today." If you can't say that once in your entire life about yourself, what kind of things are you going to put out into the universe, into the world? And I don't mean in terms of the day-to-day speaking to people. I mean even your habits. When you boil down into your habits, how are you going to do certain things with a level of true appreciation for the things that you're doing from a work perspective? If I can't wake up in the morning, look myself in the mirror, appreciate the person that's standing there in front, appreciate yourself for one, how are you going to appreciate the things around you?
That's so true. And
I mean, it can be done.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. It certainly can be done over a time period, but I think it's short-lived. Someone could correct me if I'm wrong, but I certainly think it's short-lived. You won't be. I've never felt the happiest version of myself if I'm not happy within. Truly, I am certainly able to walk out of the front door and go about my day and put on a mask, because I've definitely done it before. Be smiling around and be happy around other people. Then when I get back home, I feel a sense of gloom. I feel a sense of doom. I feel like I'm not one with myself right now.
It reminds me of this this presupposition, this principle in NLP that is perception is projection. So when you were saying that if I'm not grateful for things within myself, what sort of energy am I going to be putting out in the world? If I'm thinking bad things about myself, I'm going to be putting that out into things that I perceive in the world. So when have you ever had arguments, or like you're having a conversation with someone and you're telling them something and they say something to you back which is completely unrelated, but it's about their situation.
Yeah, definitely.
And what they're doing in that moment is projecting their situation onto your story. And it's so good that you touched on being grateful, because if you do start your day with gratitude, it creates an abundant mindset. You're thankful for this, you're thankful for that. you attract more things because you're vibrating that sort of energy. You're walking into rooms, you're grateful for being in that room, you're grateful for speaking with that person, building this relationship. You're smiling. Okay, you're smiling. What does that do? It's lifting your mood. All right. Now it's lifting the moods of people around you. You're having good conversations.
And the connection goes from 0 to 100. The feeling of moving in those rooms goes literally from 0 to 100. And you really appreciate that situation.
So I think sometimes it's just, when you don't feel that way, if you're going through hell and how do you keep on going? In Atomic Habits, he talks about a 2-minute rule, which is, whenever, if you're working on this new habit, create a 2-minute rule. When you're not in the mood to do it, say, okay, I'm only going to do it for 2 minutes. And when you do it for 2 minutes, it's that threshold where you just do it.
Just do it at night.
Yeah, because you get into it, you start building momentum, and you get past that moment of, I'm not standing still. I've got momentum.
Through the motions,
I'm going through the motions.
Because if you don't keep going, you're gonna just fall off the treadmill.
That's right. So it's like you've picked up a book and you've said to yourself, I don't want to read this book. But if I apply the 2-minute rule, I'm saying, look, let's just read one page. I've read one page. Oh, do you know what? That was quite nice. I go to the next one. And all of a sudden, you've read a chapter.
And that's my reading habits, I'll be honest. Like that's like I don't like reading in a, not that I don't like reading, I can read. Let me make that clear. That's fine. But it's other things that I prefer because I'm busy. So I'd either listen to an Audible or, as opposed to reading a book. I love the feeling of actually getting from page to page to page and actually taking in the information. I love that feeling. But it's getting to that point. It's almost like knowing that this thing is good for you. You don't want to do it because not because it's good for you, but you just, there's something in you that's like, it's stopping me from doing this thing, stopping me from fueling my mind. But once you do it, you then reap the rewards of actually, yes, this feels good.
I think another thing that you could use as a motivator to keep going, aside from just wanting to become better at whatever it is you're doing, is if you're interested in something, why not just lead with your curiosity? Flex that curiosity muscle of, I just want to discover more about this.
But we know why people don't want to do that, though. Because if we're being honest, we've been there before. It's like there's a fear of not. Yes, it's like unless you might be able to speak to this more than I can, but most humans, until they see someone else doing that thing and it's successful and it's like, oh, that worked, they won't do it because it's like they need to see the proof in the pudding. Until they see the proof in the pudding, they won't start doing that thing. There's even skeptics. Like you might see someone, again, relating to health and wellness, like you might see someone that's really looks the part. They look healthy. They look like they live a healthy lifestyle. But then you'll get someone in the background say, yeah, but that person's on steroids. How do you know that? How do you know that? Why is your first instinct, this person cheated to get to where he is. Why don't you think that Superman, for example's sake, the Superman movie, I don't remember his name. Do you know his name?
Mark Clavill, I think.
Mark Clavill.
Claren. Henry Cavill. Wow.
Yeah,
Where did I get
Mark? We got Henry.
Oh, wow, I'll remix his name.
Yeah. So when he put out his video, his workout, he put out the whole routine of the Superman build up. So building up to actually filming. You see him exercising, you see him doing his thing. But before you put that video up, people would have assumed, oh, he's done something cosmetic, or he's the suit, for example's sake, has been blown up somehow. And why don't you think that actually this is someone that is in the acting world and he's putting in the work, he's putting in the effort, he's gone through his own challenges day to day, telling himself that he needs to wake up every single day, work out, eat right. He may not even like what he's eating, but he's doing it. Yeah, granted, he's getting a very nice paycheck, but there's a grind that goes in between that, and a lot of people dismiss that grind.
Because they don't understand what it takes. And not only don't they understand what it takes, they want to make themselves feel better about not going through the grind. So it's like, you know, because I feel insecure by the fact that, not me personally, but, you know, if I'm someone who's looking at the likes of Henry Cavill, I want to make sure I got his name right this time.
Yeah, I felt that. I definitely felt that.
If I'm looking at him and I'm like, yo, how are you so hench? You must be taking steroids. What do you mean you must be taking steroids? Like, I'm projecting my own limitations onto him, because I think that the only way that I could become hench is if I would take steroids. But actually, I just haven't explored the path of getting my diet right, taking this sort of gym routine where maybe perhaps I'm bulking first and trimming at the end, whatever it is. You know, I'm not an expert.
We're too focused on the end result. I think that's one thing, that we are too focused on timeline versus the end result. Okay, I need to. A lot of people that get PTs. I remember I was speaking to a good friend of mine, and we were talking about, do I get a PT? Do I not get a PT? I'm going to get a PT for 2 months, 3 months. And I asked the question, I said, why are you going to get a PT for 2 months, 3 months? Like, where did that timeline come from? I just reckon that's how long it will take for me to look blown. I was like, wait, what? What do you mean by that? I mean, first of all, there's a lot that comes with your physical appearance changing within a 2-3 month period, right? Like, you do understand that. It's not just, I've got a PT and my PT is going to make sure I look good. Because at the end of the day, when you are doing your workout with your PT, you have potentially 3 meals within a day that have to be within a certain specific, your nutrients and your intake needs to be relatively specific for you to see some sort of change within your appearance. Not that I'm an expert, I'm not an expert, but I know that within my own timelines, when I'm working out and when I'm eating well, I wouldn't necessarily put a timeline on my physical appearance changing, because really and truly, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of moving parts to play when it comes to achieving a certain goal that takes time. And you have to appreciate that sometimes, every single time you put a deadline to something that you're trying to achieve, it may not happen within that timeline. It may not, and that could be because of the fact that specifically to your health, you're not sleeping 8 hours a day, 6 to 8 hours a day. You know, you're not, again, like I said, your nutrition isn't quite right for your specific body type. You need to start figuring things out before you start looking at what that specific end result is. So I've always found ignoring the end result and just putting your head down, working towards whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, whatever challenge that you're trying to overcome, has far greater benefits than saying to yourself, yes, put a measurement in place, but saying to yourself, if this thing doesn't happen within this time period, I'm going to let it go. Learn the lessons.
You just surrender to the process and don't put a timeline on, you know, when it is that you're supposed to become this person, because, you know, when you don't do it within that time frame, you then become deflated, then you lose motivation, then you start thinking it's not possible, and then you start going down on a downward spiral. I think that, you know, another take on this as well is looking at a self-development in the context of this quote: "You're going through hell, keep on going." But let's look at it from also a relationship perspective, which is also connected to self-improvement. You know, if you're not putting yourself out there anymore with on let's say on dates, because, you know, on the last one you got burnt, you know, your way of looking at, let's say, women in general now is that, you know, all women don't like me. You've made that one generalization based off the terrible date that you just had, where she was an hour late and, you know, you bought her dinner and you didn't get what you thought you were going to get at the end of the date, which was second date, or you know, maybe I was
wondering what you were going to say.
No, it just depends depends what type of guy you are, what outcome you want, right? But the framing here could have been like, look, actually, that date didn't go well because we're just not compatible. So, you know, I've got to kiss maybe 1,000 frogs to find my princess. And, you know, if it takes 1,000, it takes 1,000. I'm just going to have to do that, because what I really want for myself is I want a family. And I'm determined to do that. And I'm not going to say that I have to do it within a specific time. I'm not going to say to myself, oh, because it's winter now, it's cuff season. You know, it's time for us to find a long-term partner, because everyone else is cuddling up. You know, we're not in the summer mode, you know, city boy mode, city girl mode, where everyone's going on holidays. Now we need someone to Netflix and chill with. So I'm setting myself a deadline of, no, actually, if you set yourself that deadline, what happens when you don't get into a relationship? Are you going to give up on relationships altogether? Or actually, maybe you're getting into relationships for the wrong reason, because it's cuffing season. But actually, you still got some healing to do. In that last relationship, you were doing things in a way that wouldn't make your partner happy. So have you fixed that?
Have you really looked within yourself and really understood the things that have culminated into why certain things didn't work out? But I, you know, a lot of what you said just reminded me of the quote. I think I put it on my thread, and I put, a quote saying it's the first step that counts, not the distance.
Good one.
And a lot of the things that are relatable to life, the relationships, the work environment, when you start a new job, when you start a new career, when you have an argument with someone, when you're in a situation with family where things are in turmoil and there's something that's gone wrong, and you're not quite sure whether or not to communicate with that person, or the first step that counts, not really the end result, not really where things are perfectly placed towards the end of whatever journey you're expecting to go on. Because a lot of people, they think, I'm going to start this journey and this is where I'm going to end up. They try and map it out and they try and play their own version of God, if you like. And nobody knows. You can do all the right things and still something can go wrong. But there's still a lesson in that. And I think when I think about that message, and you think about the message of the quote that we started with from Winston Churchill about going through the depths of hell, but yet still keep going. You get to a point of understanding that there's just so many lessons to be learned when you're going through all these trials and all these tribulations, that you're bound to get some benefit, some lesson, if you frame your mind right, and if you start thinking of the fact that you actually just took the first step, which many, many people won't even do in the first instance. And I feel like that is a good way of rounding off the episode, rounding off March, rounding off a lovely Easter. We're gonna have some amazing food today. I want to end obviously with our act of gratitude. I'll give you the floor. We had a lovely quote from our lovely guest, so thank you very much for sharing the quote. What's your act of gratitude today, Sidney?
I'm grateful for the opportunity that I get from one up high to keep trying again. When I fall off that horse, dust myself off, go again. I'm grateful for the opportunity because I know not everyone gets that. And life is short. So why not go again? Why not keep trying? Why not keep learning? Because the journey is exciting. Only good things are going to come for it.
Yes.
So that's what I'm really grateful for. Good. What about you?
I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm really grateful for the lessons of life, because life is tough. Life is hard. And I think there's so many situations in life where, as I said earlier on, you can expect things to go your way. You can expect things to go a certain way. But actually, even though the shock of things not going your way, adversity, or whatever reason it might be, I'm grateful for those lessons, because at the end of it, as hard as the slug may be, as hard as it might be to go through, it might be 3 months, 6 months, a year of hardship, when you get to the other side and you've done all the things that you possibly believe in your power that you've done to try and come out of the other side of it, not being distracted by things, being able to say no in certain situations when it would best serve you to say no, and actually focusing on those things that you said you want to do. And you're frustrated that those things haven't happened, and you're going again and you're going again, and you're learning and you're learning and you're learning. It makes you a better person. As we said from the Mental Health Foundation, facing those challenges head on has made a lot of people feel as though that they are able to deal with things with the strategies of what they were using to face things head on. to help them find a better tomorrow. And I'm grateful for those lessons.
Love that.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on Teddy Talks. I hope you have found many, many ways to face your own challenges back at home. And if you have any other quotes that you want to share with Sidney or myself, please do not hesitate to message us on Teddy Talks. Comment below, message us on Instagram, wherever you feel comfortable. And if you want to see more of Teddy Talks, do not forget to like, subscribe, mainly subscribe if you want to see more of Teddy Talks, and hit that notification button as well. Thank you very much for joining us.